hopefully you're not in this situation, but what happens if you, your siblings, and people can't agree what to do during a probate process? So specifically in this video, brothers and sisters, they just can't agree on what to do. Mom and dad have passed away, and now there's some fighting. And again, hopefully you're not going through that, but I see this all the time, whether it be siblings, whether it be cousins, whoever. In a lot of probates, even ones that are, relatively simple, there tends to be some sort of fighting or just bad feelings, amongst the siblings. And so what do you do? Well, there's several stages of the probate, and the first stage, the first hurdle that you all will have to get over is getting somebody named as the personal representative. And this is the person who's going to be in charge of administering the estate, working with the attorney, liquidating bank accounts, transferring real estate, basically doing all of the stuff that has to happen. And so that's the first hurdle, is who's going to be named as the personal representative. Now, if there's a will and it's a valid will and no one's fighting over the will, which is a whole nother topic, the will's probably going to say who the personal representative is. So that person, he or she, is going to have preference and priority to be the personal representative. That actually can make things a little bit easier. If there is no will, then there is a hierarchy in Florida, at least, as to who is going to be the personal representative. And so you'll want to speak with your probate attorney to find out who has preference. And again, that's where we see a lot of fighting. Once you get over that hurdle, now you just kind of have to hopefully follow the probate attorney's instructions, make sure creditors are dealt with. One of the things we see a lot of fighting is personal property, the things inside of the house, right? So that can be a little bit of an issue. But really there's a large chunk of stuff that's going to happen in the middle, which is paying creditors if there are any, liquidating bank accounts, securing assets like the house and all of that. And because the probate process takes a long time, that's where there's a lot of friction, because there's just so much time in between that people can kind of fight and do things, and the resentment and the animosity sort of builds up. So that's the second hurdle. But the final hurdle, and probably, if you're still fighting during that second period, is actually now distributing the assets. Again, the Florida statutes are pretty clear about who gets what. So there's not going to be, there probably won't be too much fighting over that, because it's pretty clear. Where you might see some fighting is, if someone's trying to get reimbursed, especially for things like, let's say that they said they've been maintaining the property, they've been maintaining the real estate, and you don't believe their receipts are accurate, stuff like that. There can be some fighting over that, which is going to require the court to get involved, the judge to get involved. But other than that, everything, hopefully should just be distributed the way the law says, or the way the will says. Now, the one thing that I see probably more common than anything has to do with the house. Okay, if there's a house, we're going to usually, if it's what's called a homestead property, if it's the person's homestead, we're going to have to transfer that property to the next of kin, to the beneficiaries, or whoever was named in the will. That takes the property out of probate, which is good and bad. Now that you don't have to deal with a probate court, but now the siblings have to agree on what to do with the property. And that's where you can have some issues, because one of the siblings wants to keep it, the other one wants to sell it. Who's going to pay the property taxes? If there's a mortgage, who's paying the mortgage? All that sort of stuff. And that's going to, if no one can agree, that's going to require a separate action called a partition action. All right. So there's a lot of stuff in here. What I would recommend is lean on your probate attorney. Try to keep the peace as much as possible. I recognize that sometimes it's just impossible. But remember, it's a long process. It's going to take, again, 9 to 12 months or longer to complete the probate administration. So, if you can, try to keep things as smooth as possible throughout the process, and just lean on the attorney for guidance if you have a good attorney, working with you. And good luck. I know that it can be a painful process. Hopefully it's a reminder for you to make sure that you take care of your estate before you pass away, so that your family members don't have to go through the probate process.